following episode may contain discussions of sensitive and potentially distressing topics, including but not limited to mental health issues, suicide, death, domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, physical violence, and other traumatic experiences. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. This content is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all listeners. The views, opinions, and statements expressed by guests are of their own and not necessarily Burning Bridges podcast. By continuing to listen or view this episode, you acknowledge and accept that the hosts, producers, and associated parties are not liable for any distress, harm, or losses, emotional, psychological, or otherwise, that may result from the content discussed. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you or someone you know is in crisis and needs help now, call 000 within Australia or Lifeline on 131114 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Daniel Proctor, welcome to Burning Bridges podcast. We're very honoured for you to be in our space today and share your story.
Thank you for this opportunity. I really do appreciate it, especially when my voice is heard by a different part of society. I'm really pleased to be a part of it. Yeah,
that's great. We're happy that you're here. So where were you born and where did you grow up?
I'm actually from a small town back home in New Zealand, a small rural town with a hell of a lot, much to do around town. So obviously you know those small towns, those stories that come with it. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that one caught me off guard actually. I'm missing home.
Yeah. When was the last time you were there?
I was only back home like 6 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you back in your hometown where you were born and grew up?
Yeah, I was. I go back regularly just to check up on my father and my mum who are back there, and also my grandmother. Other than that, I don't really tend to go back because there's not much there. And it holds a lot of memories that I sort of really don't really like to bask in that much. There's not much going for us back home. So I feel the reason why I just got emotional just quickly is because I'm at a point now where my parents are at that stage in their life where they're questioning how long they're going to be here for. And this is something that I've been navigating for the last, I suppose, 6 months. Seeing them how they are and actually realising, damn, hang on, it's starting to get serious now. So, yeah, that emotional attachment to talking about hometown, I was just like, wow, and it just caught me off guard just then because I didn't even feel that coming up. So, yeah.
There you go. So tell us what it was like growing up in the Proctor household.
Yeah, I suppose, like I said to you earlier on, as a common story back home, I grew up in a violent household. My father was a very violent man. His claim to fame in our small town was how aggressive and violent he was. So you can only imagine if he was well known in a town for that, and you can only imagine what happened at home. So, yeah, my old man, what I remember of my old man is just the violence. He had an accident when I was 8 years old that enabled him physically and mentally. He was actually hit by a truck, and sometimes I like to think maybe that was karma for everything that he'd done to us. My mum, of course, copped it the most. She definitely feels the scars now still. She's in her 60s. She's had her cheeks shattered. She's had her nose broken. She had her back broken, her arms, her fingers. So that's just a small sort of snippet of what the life of my mother lived through in our home. I didn't escape it. My old man was violent towards me. It wasn't until, and I'll just quickly go there, it wasn't until I was actually in my 30s, my late 30s, when I actually started this journey that I actually found the scope of what actually happened to me. I seen my medical records. My medical records were something that really set me back mentally and emotionally because I didn't even think that that was the brutality that happened to me. So there was records of broken bones, visually bruised, battered. There was also signs of smoke butts. put out on me. So being a parent myself, I can't even imagine anyone doing that to a child, let alone your own father. So yeah, growing up in my household was hard. My mother did the best that she could to protect me, but I also paid the price for her hurt. And what I mean by that was that whole abandonment sort of scenario, and those stories come along with that. She was only a young mother. Both of my parents were young, and that's no excuse for what happened to me. I can't even, when I think about my childhood, and one of the hurtful things that I think about is the fact that I can't think of any happy times. And that's being completely honest. I was speaking to a counsellor years ago, and they were like, hey, you're picking out all these heavy moments in your childhood. How about we go back and we'll find those happy ones? And I'm like, fuck, I really have to search for them if I want to find them. And don't get me wrong, I did find a few, but there wasn't a hell of a lot. So when I speak about my childhood, I actually even ask myself, did I even have a childhood? You know, or was I more spending most of my time alone, scared, and protecting myself and wondering what's going to happen next? I lived in a common theme of like always alcohol, the parties. You could hear the crate bottles coming down the road when your mum's coming home. And I was the only child too. So this is where the whole thing comes from. You're alone. Most of the time being shut in my room. And a lot of these stories come out as an adult on why. But I blame my mother for them. And it wasn't until that we were able to have these conversations where we can understand and just be at peace with each other that I actually understood, okay, then I didn't even give you a chance to explain why that happened. But still, you still put me in that position for that to happen. That was my younger childhood. When my dad left, we left town and we actually moved to a larger city. And this is when the gangs started being involved in my life.
So what was your hometown where before you moved?
So actually, I lived in a place called Martin. Martin is in the Rangitikei Manawatu area, just a small rural town. There's a lot of timber mills, meatworks and stuff like that, typical Māori town where people are drawn to. It's quite a violent town from the stories that I got told, and even seeing things in the town itself as a young one. And the thing is, when I was younger too, they took away all the mills and stuff like that and moved them to the bigger towns, you know what I mean? So the work wasn't there. So things started playing in that town even more. So like I said, we moved away from that when I was 9 years old. And we went to a larger town. And like I said, this is where the gangs started being involved into my life because my mum started dating these gang members. You know, and this is where the abandonment issues I find for myself actually started majorly because, like I said, she was young. Now she was free. She was single. She's in a larger town. She doesn't have that those shackles of my father on her no more. She wasn't bounded to anyone, so she was having her fun. So if I think about it now, if I was 9 years old, she was in her mid-20s or late 20s. So that's the time of your life where you want to have fun. You're a mother. You got a young boy. She wanted to party a lot, and that's what happened. So we're surrounded by gang members. I was distributed out to friends, people I didn't even know, into homes just so she could go out partying and have her fun. Quite often she'll fucking go missing for a day or two, and I'll find myself at my grandmother's place, of course. My grandmother was my safe space, I suppose, growing up. She always came and got me and where she could and when she could. I was speaking to my partner before about my childhood, and I was just thinking, babe, I can't even remember a hell of a lot that is worth. Actually, I could tell my kids, if you know what I mean, like, man, back in my childhood, this is what we used to do. You know, I just don't have that. Yeah, it's hurtful. It was hurtful, especially when I look at my parents now. Like, I've done a lot of forgiveness, but I actually look at my dad sometimes, and I look at him in the eyes, and I'm just like, fuck, man, how can you do that to me when I was younger? And I'll sit here and I love you.
That's a lot of soul searching. That's a lot of forgiveness.
A lot of forgiveness. You know, because we got so much limiting beliefs from our childhood. You two know that. It's passed on, and this is why we act out in our adulthood. There was a lot of forgiveness needed. The two main people, of course, my mother and my father, and also myself eventually. And that's a whole another story of that all, you know. Damn.
Did you have an outlet, as in like you were 9 years old when you moved to that town? You were left alone a lot. You stayed with your grandmother at certain times. Was there sports? Was there other things that like helped you through
No, not really. I suppose another thing that I sort of like, it was a losing battle, was that because my mum's Pākehā and my dad's Māori, it's almost like you didn't fit into both worlds. You know what I mean? So when you put into places like when I moved to the larger town, Palmerston North, like I was into a primary school that was like Māori based, you know, and you're in the hood. You know what I mean? So it's just like, man, I'm fighting for my life at home. Now I've got to fight for this shit at school. You know what I mean? So there was never a safe space apart from my grandmother's place. But even if I talk into my grandmother's place, that she wanted to protect me so much that I was just isolated. You know what I mean? So there was really no place for me to go or anything. Sports, I was too shy of a kid to actually participate in because I was too scared of failure, how I may look, because, of course, what was happening at home. If I failed, if I did something wrong at home, you're going to get something. So that whole mindset was taken into anything that I was doing at school. And then, yeah, there was no outlet for me at all, apart from learning the ropes on the streets. So you can imagine a 9-year-old who's been through what I was, or what I had been through at home, start picking up on the bad shit. It was like, okay, I'm picking up on this bad behavior, but then I'm taking it home, and then I'm going to get it at home. So what's wrong or right? You know what I mean? What can I do? What am I right at? What am I good at? And you start even asking those questions of like, I remember my first encounter of like the thoughts of unliving myself was when I was around about that age. I'm only 9 years old, 10 years old, and I'm thinking about, fuck, I don't even want to be here no more. And I remember coming home from school, the house was locked up and my mum wasn't even there. And like by then I'm like 10 years old, around about that age, and I'm like, fuck. And to keep warm, I sat in the woodshed. And it wasn't until that night that my mother came home. And I'm like, man, what? You know, so I'm living this life. In a way, I'm going back to school and I'm coming home the next day, and I remember having these thoughts of like, I'm walking down this creek and I'm like, maybe I should just jump in that water and take my own life. Like, I'm only 10, man. Like, fuck, that's my life that I'm living already. This is the setup that I have to enter this next part of my journey, my teens, my adulthood. So you can only imagine the things that were yet to come as a teenager and stuff like that too. Always often shipped around. I mean, like when I mean shipped around, we're in one house and then we're in another. And then we're moving down 2 houses down the road. And it's always like, fuck, man, you just already like you're in a place of unsettlement. And it's like, okay, then is anything going to change in this house? The same things happen. And one of the things that always got me was like I mentioned earlier on, was the crate bottles. You can hear them coming.
The sound.
It's like the ones Rory shit. You know what I mean? It was.
Yeah.
You heard it and you know something was going to go down in night. Especially when you were shipped off to your mates and stuff like that. I remember like one of the feelings of abandonment. We lived in these housing corp houses, 2-story ones and stuff like that. She left me at one of her mates, and one of her mates was a partner to one of the local gang members there. I didn't even know them. What the fuck am I doing here? They're not family. And then all of a sudden it's time to go to bed. So I'm in this bedroom with all these kids, and one of the kids that were there were one of the kids that bullied me at school. So now I'm wide awake, wondering what's going to happen, not only from this fella or this young fella, or what's going to happen into this house, but I also was laying in the bed and I had visual of my home across the road where we stayed. I laid up all night waiting for my mother to come home and get me, or come back to get me, and I kept on looking out this window, and I remember that vividly because that was the memory that I have. If I ever get asked of like, you know, when did it start for you? The abandonment feeling, that's the moment that I go back to is there. I waited all night for her to come home and she never even come and got me. I remember even just the next day, it took the next day for her to, you know, like to show face, and here I am. Yeah, so it was a really rough upbringing for myself, being a father too. I'm just like, man, I can't even phantom doing that to your children.
Where was your dad when your mother and father split up?
So
Did he stay in your hometown or? So
my old man was back in my hometown. Man, this is another drama that sort of unfolded amongst that too, that sort of set me back as a child. And I mentioned earlier on, like being a half-caste Māori, it's almost like I was too white to fit in a certain crowd, you know what I mean? Because I am a pale Māori. So I wasn't accepted in the Māori side of things. It was almost like I'm too Māori. Just because I'm known as Māori, I was too Māori to be in the European and the Pākehā side of things too. So it's almost like you're in this void of existence where you just don't fit in. You know, like having white schoolmates and you wanting to experience that whole stay over with them, you know, because they've got all the stuff. But their parents don't want you over there because of who your parents are. But you're too scared to go over on the Māori side of things because, you know what I mean? You're already living that life. So my old man, when he had his accident, he actually got run over by a truck on a bike. He was taken off one night. He got put into a coma. He was actually lucky to be alive. So physically and mentally, it enabled him partly to operate in life as, you know, like how he used to. So he lost everything that he was pretty much. My mum supported him as much as possible. He was in the hospital and stuff like that. And I remember him being in intensive care in Hastings on the East Coast there. And he got brought back down to Palmerston North Hospital. And the violence didn't even stop when he was on the hospital bed. So I remember even talking to my mum, taking me away, and I said, no, I want to stay by my dad. Bang. And I remember getting knocked to the floor. And I remember that's the last time he he actually hit me, I should say. I'm like, fuck, even on your hospital bed, he's still striking at me, bro. A lot of things are blurry in that sort of time period and stuff like that too. I don't know if it's just too heavy or it's just, something along that. But I do remember that my old man went to live with my auntie and she took care of him. And this is what I mean, there's all these stories behind it, that the reason why my mum left wasn't because she couldn't support him, was because he got a payout and she took all of the fucking money. Oh. Because all of a sudden we had some flash stuff in our house. So now there's a bridge between me, my mum, and my dad's family because of it. It's almost like at that time, because that happened, that I lost that side of the family, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to go because now my mum's like, no, you're not going over there.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So, my old man sort of went back to the hometown and sort of lived his existence. He's pretty much, when my auntie was taking care of him, they put him into a flat and he's still in that same flat today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so the grandmother that you're close to is your mum's mum?
The grandmother that I'm close to is my mum's mum. My dad's old lady passed away when I was 5 years old. So I didn't have the comfort of her. She was actually a great woman, just like my mum's mum. But even like stories of that are unfolding now as I journey into that side of things with the family and stuff like that and starting to ask questions. My nan was my safe space. She come and got me. She didn't know how to drive and all she knew how to do was ride a bicycle. So she used to come pick me up and put her on a fucking bicycle at all hours of the morning, because I remember ringing her often. Mum's getting hiding again. You need to come get me. Or I want to come by you. Come and get me. And that wasn't really entirely just because of I wanted to feel safe. It's just sometimes it's because fuck, I'm hungry. Come get me. You got food in your cupboards. Come feed me, man. You know. So she was an amazing woman. She's still alive today. She's in her 90s. Yeah, she was my savior. She was my savior. She how can I say it? When I look back at that story and I think, okay, the woman in my life was supposed to love me. My mum's supposed to love me, man. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And I thought differently of that. I look at my nan for it because, she loved me. She loved me. But that love also had restrictions on it too in regards to how I lived my life. When a rebellious stage come along in my teens, it made it even more confronting for myself and her when I actually did fly the coop. You know what I mean? And these behaviors started coming out. She actually held me into my teens. So she had me for many years. And we talk about abandonment once again. My mum used to disappear for fucking months sometimes. I'd leave with my nan. So I used to wonder, like, when's mum coming home? Oh, I don't know, boy. Is she coming home? Yeah, she'll come back. And I didn't even know where she was half the time. And I do remember her coming back after like 3 or 4 months, picking me up, going up north to one of the orchards. So obviously she was on this journey of fucking fruit picking and stuff like that and going around town to town, living her life. Once again, didn't work out. Another partner of her being violent. So I got taken back to my grandmother's. And the longest I feel that I know that she was away for was actually a year. She moved away out of town and she wanted to take me up, but I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay here with my nan. And my nan took me in. And it wasn't until like fucking close to a year that I see my mum again. So that whole abandonment thing happened throughout my childhood, but even more so in my teens and my adulthood, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And how did that shape you, feeling abandonment? Did you have like resentment towards your mother and your father from your experiences that you had with them?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of that didn't really come out until my adulthood. I suppose that I actually started, how can I say it? I didn't really feel any resentment or hatred towards my parents at all. I've got to say, like, even as a child, and it's odd, even as a young teenager, and I feel that's odd too. I feel when I started understanding it specifically more on what I was actually going through as a mid-teen, that's when I started feeling that hatred and anger and stuff like that too. And it's quite funny when we speak about the resentment and the anger towards my parents. My dad was the most violent. Fuck, man, my dad was violent. Out of both of them, my resentment was more towards my mum.
Mm.
I fucking hated her. Like, I can, even speaking into it now, I fucking hated her. I resented her because you put me in that position. Those were the things I was saying. You put me in that position. You had the chance to take us out. Why the fuck did you stay there? And every relationship you had was violent. I can't even remember a relationship she had that wasn't. And this is what I mean about the resentment and the hatred towards my mum. My dad, it was like almost like, oh, I just forgive you. But I didn't really. I was more accustomed to be around in his company than I was with my mum. And I feel it was only like that because you can't touch me now. You can't hurt me no more. I'm bigger than you. You can't even move your fucking arm. If you do even speak loud at me, I'm going to do you. So I feel that's why emotionally was more comfortable because I had the control, if that made sense.
Mm.
Not so much with my mum. My mum didn't even stop her ways until I was actually, if I'm being honest with you, in my late 30s. So, I mean, I'm 43 now. So I'm talking maybe only 4 or 5 years ago that she stopped her shit. And even then, I think if she had the opportunity because she's getting old and finding a man's a lot harder, I feel that she'll still put herself into a chaotic sort of loving experience again because that's what she's used to. Yeah.
That cycle, hey.
That cycle, yeah. That cycle. And it's just, it's sad to watch for my mum. I used to say to her, and I said it to her in every decade of my life. I remember saying to her as a teenager when she kicked me out, and it was the last time that I stayed with her, I lived with her, and I think I was only 14 or 15 years old. 14 or 15 years old, leaving home, starting his own life. I said to her, aren't you fucking sick and tired of this shit? Aren't you tired of getting beaten around and used like this? And then in my 20s, once again, another relationship, multiple relationships. Mum, aren't you tired of this, man? You're too old for this shit. And in my 30s, Mum, what the fuck, man? You're clocking 50, girl. What are you up to? Where's the change, Mum? What are you trying to teach us?
So you being around those relationships, how were you, as a young man, did you feel comfortable being in relationships with other ladies, other women? Like,
You can tell the whole story, like you learn from what you experience as a child. And I took that into my relationships. It's almost like I didn't trust my mum, so I'm not going to trust any other woman. I'm not. My way of loving is controlling, manipulation, and violence. Respect was my aggression. I've been married once, been divorced, of course. If I may, like I talk about my marriage, my first, I say, major relationship. I met this young lady, and I've already had my kids by then. And I've already hit a woman by then. I'm at the start of my 20s. By then, I've lost 2 kids. When I mean lost 2 kids, 2 of my kids have passed away. And I've had 2 kids to another woman. And I met my first wife. It's almost like I fell in love instantly. Looking back at the relationship now, man, the same thing. How can I ever do that to a woman? How can anyone do that to a woman they say they love? I bet her regularly. Yeah, I did. I bet her regularly when I felt like I was going to be abandoned. My way of forcing her to stay or forcing her to be there or forcing her to love me was to be aggressive. And I wasn't even embarrassed about it. Everyone knew. The only time that I did feel embarrassed was when my grandmother found out. That one woman that did love me. That's when I was embarrassed. My wife put up with it for a few years but gave up. And I think it was the best decision for her and myself that could ever happen. And I actually, I said that to her a few years after. We come to a conversation where I asked her for forgiveness. And she gave it sincerely. She said to me, I forgave you years ago because it wasn't your fault on how you are. You were only loving me the way that you fucking knew how to love. It was just my fault that I stuck around as long as I did.
You said just before that you've lost 2 children. Can you tell us a bit more about that and how that happened? Story behind that?
Yeah. I still acknowledge my children. Every time I introduce myself, I say I'm a father of 6. I got 4 babies in the physical. I got 2 that look after me. I was only a child myself. I had a baby girl to an amazing woman back home in New Zealand. She was too early. She was premature. Doesn't make it any easier because we actually held her for 2 weeks. And the excitement of being a first-time parent, and that was your first experience as a parent. It's almost like I don't deserve any happiness. You say it's a blessing, and our kids are a blessing, but when that blessing's taken away from you, you can only feel the hurt. I lost my baby girl. I held her for 2 weeks. Yeah. There's a lot of hurt and anguish around that because I felt like I didn't do enough. Even until my adulthood, I thought, fuck, man, could I have done more? Was it my fault? Was it the way that I treated her mum? Yeah, and even thinking about that, like I know I didn't do enough for her mother. And she was going through her pain, and my way of going through her pain was going out there cheating, doing drugs, getting on the piss with the boys. It was pretty much I abandoned her in her own anguish, her own pain. I had another son about a year later, Roa, and the same thing happened. He was born too early. I think about the medical treatment that we got in this day and age now, they'll be still here. But back then, it was never going to happen. My boy was only alive for a couple of days. Still didn't make it any easier. You can only imagine first-time parents losing their first 2 children, and then also being told that you can't have any kids because she couldn't hold long enough. So they put a stitch in her, but every time it was just breaking. So the whole thought of not being able to have kids with her actually selfishly maybe go elsewhere. It's almost like I abandoned her right then and there, the mother to my children, but we're still together. We ended up being blessed with 2 more children, which are still here. So it's almost like I feel sometimes, I don't know why, and it's crazy to say, but there's lessons there somewhere, because we had a baby girl, the first one, Alia, and then we had a baby boy straight after, a year later. So it's almost like bang, bang, bang. But the pain never leaves you of losing your children. No matter how much you go through this journey, it just finds things to make it easier. But you never fully get over losing a child. And that's something that sort of binds me and their mother, even now. Not just our children that are here physically, but our children that have passed. And it's because of that she actually forgave me too, because I was a hua of a partner to her. And once again, violent. She was the first woman that I actually hit, the first woman that I was actually abusive to. And I used to tell myself that I had reasons why. There's never a reason why. I just didn't know how to regulate my emotions. I didn't even know there was such a thing. I thought me being that violent teenager was me. That was my personality. That's who I am. You either love me or hate me. You either take me, who I am, or you're just going to get it.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
From little part of my journey. One thing that I'm learning now, and I'm actually basking into now, and I can talk about it later on too, I won't go off track, is the fact that, like, we talk about childhood trauma and we go back and we heal that inner child, but what we tend to forget is actually our teenage self that people don't talk about. You hear about childhood trauma all the time. Yeah, it's always spoken about, but what about the angry teenager that follows? Have you done the work on that? Because that's what follows. You can go and heal that inner child, what's happening as a child, that's cool, but what about that angry cunt that starts stepping into play as a teenager? Like I said, I've been on this journey for 6 years, and that's only been spoken to me and thought about in the last couple. Fuck, man, I need to go and visit that fella.
Yeah.
Because that's where shit went downhill, really. For myself. That's where the violence and that begun for myself.
When you joined the gangs, what gangs were you, and what was that involved? Was there initiation that you had to do? Tell us.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting topic, eh? Gangs, like Martin, where I'm from, like, it's just that typical whole fucking small town syndrome. Yeah, like you talk about gangs, you got you had multiple gangs in Martin. You had the Mongol mob, you had the Black Power. When we moved to the major town, we were around the Mongol mob. So you loved the Mongol mob, and being around that, of course you wanted to be like it. You're growing up around it. it's quite funny if you're not going around it and you talk about there's a shadow casting over your life and you talk about the Mungo mob, but my shadow was the safety of my grandmother. And it was a different sense, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to be part of them, but the shadow of my life was my nan, the safety thing. So it's almost like, no, I wanted to be here, but maybe, you know, the initiation, it's a different story than what it was. Like people here, like your initiation to join the gang, of course you have to prospect. You have to be a part of the gang. You have to do all the shit to be a fully fledged patch member. I was never fully a fledged patch member because I had no fucking ears. I wanted to do my own thing. I'm not going to say that. I shouldn't say I don't, because it's a present tense. I didn't like authority, even in the gang. So, you know what I mean? Like,
It's ironic.
it is ironic, bro. It is ironic. And that's what got me into shit with them. I'm not going to fucking listen to you. I'm not going to make your cup of tea. I'm not going to make your coffee. I'm not going to do your lawns. What is that teaching me? Yeah, I know how to fight. I'd rather just show my worth and give you a hongi to the nose or something. And that's how it played out. That's how it played out for us. It's almost like a joiner. You had a feeder club sort of thing. Like you were we're called Highbury Hood Rats. And we're a small group of young men and women that were out of the hood and were bloods. You know, bloods feeding group to the Mungo mob. If you want Crips to the Black Power. And then we're out doing our own thing. So it's almost like if you show your worth, you know, you can move up a level. We wanted to move up a level. So we become as violent as we could. Small things from stealing cars turned into aggravated robbery, aggravated burglary, standovers, beatings. There's a place in Palmerston North called the Square. And if you're from Palmerston North, you know Palmerston North, you know the Square. When we were younger, we used to go in there and drink. Over a period of a couple of years, because of the violence, the square used to be covered in trees and stuff like that, where we could hide from the police and run to and jump out of and all this kind of shit. The council, it got so serious there because of the violence that we were causing upon the community and stuff like that, that they actually cut down all these trees so there was clear visual of when people were walking through there at night. Us kids, man, that's how violent we were, to the point where throats were getting slit, people were getting stabbed, and we thought it was cool. That was our way of moving up a level, but also our way of taking our aggression and our anger out on the world too. And that just grew and grew. Like I said, you went from a small thing and then it grew into a large thing. So when you start getting older, these things start getting more serious and you start dibbling and dabbling and stuff like that. That continued for us and for myself, going from town to town. So I was traveling from like Martin to Palmerston North, and Martin was Black Power. My family were blacks, blacks and Mungo mob. You know what I mean? And then my boys were like bloods and mobsters. But I didn't know the whole aspect of loyalty and what it actually meant. So when I was going back to Martin, I was easily getting led astray from my cousins who were Black Power. And then I started wearing blue. And then all of a sudden, I'm throwing up their shit because I'm around them. So that whole aspect of loyalty went out the door for me years ago. So no one trusted me now. You know what I mean? So I'm over here representing Bloods and Mungo mob, and now I'm over here in my hometown because I didn't even understand the whole severity of it. You know what I mean?
It's just adapting to your environment, aren't you?
Yeah. I was, bro. I was. I didn't... And that happened I seen it with a lot of men. And you see it even more now as people doing it as adults now, like in different gangs, they're chopping and changing. One day you're a commentary, one day you're something else, and then you're something else. So whatever the money's flowing. And that's what it is now. Who's ever got the biggest bag and the money? Not for a good percentage of the gang members, but for a lot of people, you see it even more often now. And then, like you said, the environment changed. I went back to the bigger town. I went back to the mob. But at that stage, I was an adult. I started doing the adult side of things with the gangs. Extortion, drugs, drug dealing, robberies, the same things, guns come into play. A lot of the time, like I think about now, like I don't know what kept me alive, because if I talk about my childhood and all the shit that happened to me in my childhood and I still survived, and then I talk about my existence as a teenager and the things that happened to me and I still survived, and then I talk about part of the gangs and I still survived. And the reason why I say that is that I've been axed in the head I have a scar on my side of my head that a lot of people don't actually can see unless you ask or unless I tell the story. But a lot of people are like, nah, fuck, no way. I'm like, bro, yeah. So I got into a fight one day, and it was a racial fight. So we come up against a motorcycle club, and we were only teenagers, and we were fighting these grown men. And they were on a methadone program, and we're having a scrap. We stole this car the night before, and we crashed it, so we were already sort of physically buggered. Anyway, just part of this out of it, you know, like experience that I lived as a teenager. We come across these two men, and we ended up having a scrap. And I didn't see this fella go back to his car. And my mates laid out on the ground. And I remember taking this fella off him and just bashing him. And I remember my mate just going, bro, look out. And I remember turning my head and seeing this axe come towards me, smacking me on the side of the head. And I remember just falling, hitting the ground and stuff, having a seizure. And it's a fucking out of experience, because like when you're having a seizure, it's like your soul's in your body. And you're telling your body to stop, but you've got no control. It's just like you're existing inside there. You've got no body. And I'm just looking at my mate. And I remember that finishing, and my mate over me crying, thinking I'm dying. And I'm wondering why. Anyway, he starts fighting again. And I remember going in and out, and he's stabbing one of these fellas up. And I remember trying to get up and trying to help him. And I remember looking up, and I seen this coming out of my head. I remember blacking out, and that was it. And next thing I know, I'm inside the chemist, because it happened outside the chemist and doctors and Bulls, of all places. And the doctors come rushing out, and they save me and stuff like this or whatever. And they put me into the hospital. They fucking dragged me over to the hospital. And I remember having this out of experience of my dad being there crying in front of me. And I remember standing next to him, looking at me. It was just like a quick glimpse. I can remember vividly just there looking at, and then fucking seeing me, and then that was it. And next thing you know, my next memory is that I'm in a helicopter. And next memory I know is that I'm waking up after being in an induced coma and having surgery. I had a fractured skull. I was lucky to survive. The doctor said if he swung an inch with force more, it would have killed me. And he said if I wasn't outside the doctors and the chemist, I would have died if it happened around the corner. So we talk about these things that happen in the gang life and stuff like this. Those are the experiences. One of the experiences, I've been stabbed, I've been shot at, I've been hit with all types of things, I've been gang bashed. Too many times to be a winner. But I'm not afraid to talk about those losses, because that's part and parcel of this journey of like, fuck man, I've been there and done that. I'm not just a pretty face. I've actually done it, and I've experienced it. But I've only done it and experienced to not even a level to what are these other men are living at the moment and going through, who are fully fledged, you know? And this is why I see my love to them, man. Like, fuck, bro, I've lived part of what you're going through right now. Okay, different lifestyles and stuff like that.
That's a full-on lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, bro. Yeah, it is a lifestyle.
Being a gang member, doing all that, like crime, fights, bashings.
You're looking over your shoulder all the time. You're looking over your shoulder all the time. And like, I'm not ignorant to my brothers. Like, I fucking love my brothers. And I do love the Mongol mob. I do love them. People say, well, fuck, why do you say that? I said, I do love them, man. They were a big part of my life. I feel embarrassed that I had a part of my life when I was a teenager and I didn't understand the severity that I went to the other side. You know what I mean? That plays with me.
What was the reason why you think you went down that path, why you went to the gangs?
Because they showed me love.
Yeah.
And you'll hear that all the time. Brotherhood. They showed me love. They see me, but they also fed me. What do you mean by fed me? They fueled my anger with an outlet to rebel against the community, to enforce the violence that I wanted to put on people. They gave me an outlet, you know what I mean? There's a saying that one of my brothers said when he introduced himself one day, and this man is pivotal, been a pivotal part of my journey, and I'll talk further about that later on. But and I use this line because it's a line, man, that I feel that it says a lot, and it's like, I've done things to humans that no other human should see or feel. And I've done some out of it shit. I've also had some out of it shit done to me, because you can imagine once you start getting that outlet through the gangs and stuff like that, drugs and that start getting involved. And this is where my addiction come in. So I talked about my marriage failing. If I go back to that story of like moving back to this main city again and going back to the mob, this is where, I started having the kids and stuff like that. And then I met my wife, and my wife sort of pulled me away from it, gave me a new experience of life. She actually opened up my life where she gave me an experience of opening doors of like, hey, you don't need to dress like that. Nah, but if I don't dress like that, I'm a faggot. This makes me hard. You know what I mean? The whole aspect of like wearing these certain clothes and looking like this makes you hard. She stopped that for me. She gave me so much in our marriage by doing that. And I travelled for the first time with her. She opened up the world for me, and she actually pulled me away from it for years. And I distanced myself, ended up distancing myself, and actually started working and doing the right thing, or trying to. What I feel I was, I just wasn't doing it inside our relationship and our home. So all of a sudden I'm going living this life, and now I'm living this how can I say, systematic life that society wants us to live. Get married, buy a house, go to work every day, have kids, be a good father, all this kind of shit. It's like, yeah, I'm living this life now. So you can only imagine when she left, like my first real love that I felt that I loved just abandoned me, because I didn't see the reasons behind her leaving were good enough. Yeah, I was eventually thankful and relieved that she did leave, but at that time I'm like, fuck, another woman's abandoned me. My mum's abandoned me. Every woman I love's hurt me. My baby mama couldn't even give me my first 2 kids. I blamed her. Now my wife's left me. I fucking, so you can imagine the anger's even more now. Yeah, this is where the addiction come in, because I went back to the boys and I started hanging out with the brothers more. When I first had my episode with the boys when I was a teenager and stuff like that, and there was only weed and LSD back in then, I didn't even, the meth was around, but it wasn't as strong as it was now. So when I went back this time around, meth was the key. Meth was money, your freedom from your thoughts. So you think, I started dibbling and dabbling, then I formed more of a habit, and then it became an addiction. And if you don't know what happens around addiction and around that meth, then a lot of things fucking amplify, even the crime around it, the things that you do, the things that you see people do for it. I got chucked in the boot multiple times. I've had guns pointed at me. I've done the same thing, even worse. If we want to get into specifics, I mean, like, there's a fella back home in Palmerston North, and they called him the nightmare of Palmerston North. Originally, they called him the mayor of Palmerston North, but he was actually the nightmare of Palmerston North, because if you're a gang member, been in the gang for years, if you're a drug dealer that was already planted in the city, you had to watch out for this fella, because this fella would come and text you, take all your shit. Fuck, man, it gives me a bit of a shake when I think about the bro. Like, he's nowhere near the man he is now. But
it's like the D-bone, eh?
Bro, he is, bro. Yeah.
Friday, like.
Oh, bro, this fella was wicked, bro. The violence that I see him do.
You fear him.
Oh, man. You feared him. If you seen, because I used to drive him around. My marriage broke up and I involved myself around the boys, and now I'm around one of the most violent men in the city. And he was around even other violent men of the city too. So there was always this rōpū of men just going around on their own missions around the city, fucking ganking everyone and taking shit and waiting for the next earn or doing all this kind of stuff. And I went off this journey with him anyway. I became his driver, and I was just in and out of his fucking circle and stuff like that. And if you see my car pull up, it wasn't me that they feared. They just knew that who I was with.
Yeah. So, well, they feared you too then, because you're associated with him. You're close to him.
Yeah.
They're going to mess with you, because if they're messing with you, they're messing with him.
Pretty much. And, and you'll find it interesting when I speak into how this ended for me. I was already a violent man, but I started picking up all these tools of him, of how to be even more violent and how to install fear on people even more. And what I mean by that is that, like, man, if I can remember, like, this fella owed him $100. $100, man. Is that in your bag, bro? Like, I remember even getting to a point now where I was one of the only people that could speak to him in a certain way, bro, fuck, what are you doing, man? Bro, you're out the gate. And he goes, we're out the gate. I'm like, fuck, yeah, bro, we are. And I say that with a gun in the boot. I say that with a gun underneath our seat. And I say that with weapons littered around our car. You know? And it's like, I remember this fella owed him a bag, and we went to the lengths of going just to get this fella. And I remember we found this fella, and the bro coaxed him to come up, bro, come for us. You know, it's all good. I got something for you. Anyway, my car at the time, you couldn't unlock it if you jumped in the back seat. It was almost like the kidnap car. If you jump in that back seat, once we'd got around it, you didn't want to jump in the back seat. So I remember finding this fella. I never really questioned the violence being with him or whatever until sort of that. So anyway, the scrawny white boy come in and he sat in the seat. And I was like, oh, fuck, this fella's nothing, man. We drive off, Proctor driving off. And then he's like, talking to him, well, where's my money? He goes, oh no, bro, you know what happened. He goes, no, I don't know. Bang. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. But I'm laughing. I'm like, bro, he's lying to you. I'm feeding him. Bro, I'm in the car. I'm cooked. Bro, he's lying to you. And he's like, no, he's not. I said, no, he's lying to you, bro. Get him. And he starts fucking pummeling him. And I'm laughing. I'm feeding him. He's feeding me. I'm like, bro, cut him up. He pulls out this barber blade. And he starts slicing his legs. And this fella's screaming for his life in the car. And we're just driving around in daylight around town. I'm like, cut him up. And he cuts him up. And he's screaming and he starts cutting him up seriously. And that was like the first time I'm just like, oh, okay, then this is fucking maybe too much. Anyway, the thing that you used to do to people like that is that you would hold them tonight, put them in a boot, take them somewhere, and then take them out in the forest or in the middle of nowhere, get them to strip naked, make your way home yourself. Find your own way home. And that's what you used to do, even just for $100 if you owed. And I mean, I had a lot of out-the-gate moments with this fella, and he taught me a lot of shit and made me indulge in the meth hard out. You know, I'll share a couple of moments of just like, I remember like being out for 3 days, and my mates are like, oh, come around a party, bruv. And I'm like, nah, fuck, I'm at home having a sesh. Well, they knew. So they come around home, and I'm sitting there in a rocking chair with a sawn off. Rocking fried out of my head, you know. And I remember even the boys, they used to dibble and dabble when they walked in. I'm like, brother, and I remember them saying, bro, you're out the gate. You need to do something. So getting to that point now, even my own friends didn't want to hang around me. I was too out the gate. So if my friends didn't want to hang around me, I'll hang around with these other fellas. That day takes you on a journey, like a journey, man, of destruction, pain, deceit, hurt, relationships. So I've seen relationships get burnt, seen friendships get burnt. If I talk about the circle of people that I knew and dealt with back then, back in Palmerston North, I look back now and there's been about 5 murders within that circle, just around meth at individual times. You know, one of the brothers got smoked in the back of the head. Another one of the brothers got shot a couple of times, you know. So, I mean, like I look at it now, I'm just like, fuck, man, I'm so glad I got away from that. But I do feel for the brothers who are still involved in it, who are still stuck in that cycle of being there. Well, that's all they know. They've got no way out.
And you never done any time?
No.
Yeah, how lucky was that?
I was lucky, bro. Some people used to call me a snitch because I never did time.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's fair game.
Yeah.
You could do. That's not saying that I haven't been arrested. Like, yeah, I've been caught up in the system multiple times. Like I said earlier on, I've been to court multiple times, and my rap sheet has never been for anything like drugs or theft or anything like that. It's usually violence, GBH, fighting in public, assault, common assault, meth. So that's my rap sheet. And yeah, you're right. It can be seen as something odd amongst people like that too. I suppose I used to say I was a smart one. Know when to leave when your company's, you know, not much needed sort of thing. I watched all the boys go inside and I couldn't even imagine. Like I said, I've got authority issues, or had authority issues, I should say. So I can only imagine what it's like going in there and being told when you can shit, when you can eat, and when you can go to sleep and stuff like that.
So your crew that you hung out back then, they went into jail. Did any of them like get murdered? Like what's that look like?
What's that look like now? So that crew that I was talking about when we were in the meth game and stuff like that, there's like some high rollers involved and stuff like that. You know, I got to meet some people. I got to see a different side of the game that a lot of people don't get. You got the street levels, and you just got your dealer levels, and then you got the dealers above them levels, and then you got the top. I was fortunate to meet some fucking up there people. Yeah, it's a dangerous underworld. So the crew, how that looks like now. So the fellow that I was talking about, the nightmare, he went inside, and when he went inside, we pretty much ran the meth game in that town. We were flooding the town with meth and stuff like that. Well, he wasn't particular. I was just there for a ride. And so when he went inside, it's almost like a movie. Like everyone's just like a family. Like when the hierarchy dies, everyone's just like fighting for the crown and stuff like that. And I remember having this meeting in my house. And I remember my flatmate coming home one day, and there was a member of the Mungo Mob there. There was a member of Headhunters there. There was a rebel member there. And there was just all these different faculties of like, hey, this fella's gone now. You know, or what's happening? Are you still going to continue to do, bizzo or who's? And I was just like, fuck, man. I just remember like, fuck, this is just getting way over my head now. But I thought, nah, I need to live up to this fella's prospect, you know? I need to live up to this fella's name. Because when you go inside and you're in the meth game, all your toys and that people, all your closest friends and that will like try and take aim for it. Nah, that's mine now. That's mine. Nah, I'm taking that. You know, and there's a mini war over the bro shit. So I felt the need to step into and just like, nah, fuck off, you know. It's like what you're talking about before. People feared him, and because I was around him, they feared me. And I felt that way. But that wasn't the case when he left, right?
Yeah, well, were people after you then? Because if you've done people over,
yeah,
he's inside, you don't have that protection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. So I remember this fella they were dealing with, and I treated him like shit. He was actually a patched up member. I remember him turning on my up to my gate one time and asking me these questions. And I was like, bro, what the fuck are you doing here? I'm not even a patch member, but I'm talking to a member like that. You know, that's a no-go. I don't know where I was in that headspace, but I know I wasn't on earth. And I remember hearing this, and I didn't even see this fella, and he had a prospect with a gun to my head. And I remember looking at him and going, boy, if you're going to fucking shoot it. They'd be a pussy, you're shit. I didn't fear death. I was in a place where I didn't fear death. And I said to him, you're going to shoot it. And I just remember having this altercation with words and stuff like that with him, and then that was it. He pissed off. So the story goes of like, with that is like, I invited all these people into my life. And when I started this, I started doing it away from my home. I didn't do anything in my house. I didn't bring anyone into my house. But once you start getting on the gear, all the rules go out the door. You start breaking the rules. You know, for example, like, I'm only going to have a bag a day. And then it turns into a gram. And you start breaking the rules. I'm only going to smoke with my closest brothers. And you start smoking with randoms because you're cool. I'm not going to leave the house with this and that. And then you start leaving the house with guns and meth. You know, I'm not going to do this. So you start breaking the rules and stuff like that. So I invited all these people into my house. They already knew where I was. So eventually something was going to happen. Anyway, I remember an associate that my mate didn't trust, didn't like it, or I didn't fucking like him either. I sat it out in the car every time we had a fucking thing with him, waiting for something to happen. And I remember this fella going, hey bro, have you got this? And I'm like, yep. Yes bro, I got a deal for you. Let's go for a ride. I'm like, where are we off to? And he told me. I knew something was wrong. And he was like, oh, we'll go up there, we're going to do a deal, we'll interchange and stuff like that. And I said, you know that's not how it goes. You know the ways that we do it. And he was just like, come on, well, we'll sort it out then when we get there. I'm like, no, fuck, you know it needs to be sorted before. And this is what I mean. You're too out the gate to even fucking realise you're just chasing paper and shit by then, or chasing power or whatever I was doing. Anyway, I went on this journey with him. We went up to Auckland. I have a drink. No, I don't want to drink. Just have a drink, man, relax. Okay, we're going to go over here. I'm like, meet them. I'm like, no, you said we're going to meet here. No, have a drink. And I remember having this drink. Next thing you know, I remember waking up and I'm in the boot of a fucking car. He drugged me. And I remember feeling this motion of like this. Like, what the fuck? I'm in the boot of the car. Am I in the fucking water? What the fuck? By then, this is the third time that I've been in the boot of the car. So the third time I wasn't really fucking, I was just like, oh, fuck, okay. Anyway, I got taken somewhere and I was held and I went on a missing persons list for New Zealand. I didn't even know because I had nothing. Fuck. I was held at this place. I had no contact with the outside world. And it's almost like I didn't want outside with the contact world. It was almost like, nah, this is it. Let's fucking get it done. You know, like I was ready to do something. Something's happened to him. But I didn't even know this because I was at this other place being held. I ended up eventually getting out anyway.
How long were you held for?
Over a week. I was gone for quite a long time. When I left on my own accord. And the first person I rang was my wife, my ex-wife. And I just remember turning up to my house and some of my family were there. And just walking into my house and there was just nothing there. I remember sitting on my bed and just crying, feeling sorry for myself, thinking, how the fuck can anyone do this to me?
How old are you?
By then, I would be in my late 20s. Yeah, my late 20s. I might even be 30 because I remember getting angry at my ex-wife because she wasn't there celebrating my 30th birthday. I don't know. What do you expect, boy? Didn't have a cent to my name anymore. Didn't have any drugs. I lost all the contacts. I lost all the trust with the people I was dealing with because of what happened. And I also felt ashamed because of what happened because I let people fucking do that to me. But it still didn't stop me from chasing the drugs. Now I've stepped into a place where you can call myself a fiend.
Getting desperate
For the fix. You know, I wasn't one before because I had it all there. Now I don't have it. Now I'm chasing it. Like I was in these waves of life and it made me understand how people can just lose themselves with that drug, man. You know? Because I used to think in my head, how can you get like that? Don't understand. But I was looking at it from a pedestal of where I was, you know. Now I'm at a level where I'm like, yeah, I can see why now. So that was me for a couple of months, and I remember just going backwards and forwards to all these houses and stuff like that and just living this fucking lying to people. I even stole off this woman who gave me this room. I stole her drugs, stuff like this. And then I got kicked out of there, and then all of a sudden I had nowhere to go. Okay, then where am I going to go? And I remember finding a place to stay. I didn't want to go back to my mum's house. Fuck that. But even when I talk about my mother in that period, the torment that I actually put her through, and what I mean by that is that I used to turn up to her house at all hours of the morning in a different car, stolen, or just a different car in general, fried off my head, different hours of the morning, just sitting there in her driveway with the car idling, just waiting for her to come out and acknowledge my pain. And then I'll fuck off.
So you're after attention.
Pretty much, bro.
Mm.
And like, I thought about it later on. I was just like, fuck, man. I remember seeing the pain in your eyes of like, you're my oldest boy. Like, what are you doing? You need to do this and do that. I'm like, who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I've got control of my own life. You did this to me. You know, that whole thing. But I mean, like, I'm turning up at 2:30 in the morning, just sitting in my car, waiting for you to come out. Crying. I hate life. I'm like, fuck this, do that. Boy, you need to come inside. Boom, gone. Won't see me for a while. Next thing you see me, I'm parking up in your driveway again. You know, so I put my mum through that. She tried to help me. I didn't want to go back there. I didn't want to go back to my hometown. I don't want to live through that embarrassment and stuff like that, even though I was already embarrassed. By then, my kids and their mother had moved to Tauranga, and they were living a life distant from me. So that was also part of my anguish and my pain was being distant from my children. I remember her ringing me one time, and this was after something happened with my daughter in the house where I was before I moved out. I remember throwing a rope up around in the shed, and I remember sticking a photo of my kids up on the wooden bearers there. I remember saying goodbye to them, and I remember putting the noose around, and my phone rang. I looked at it. And I was like, no, this is it. And I looked at it, and it was my daughter, and it was school time. I was ignoring it. I was like, nah. And then I jumped off, and I was just a fucking mess. I was crying. I was like, my baby, hey baby. And she was like, Dad. I'm like, what are you doing with your phone, baby? It's school time. She's like, Dad, I'm at the back of the class. I just want to tell you that I love you and I'm thinking about you. And yeah, my baby saved my life then. I untied everything, sat there for fucking ages and just remember it like, nah, fuck. Okay, I'm going to make my way out of here somewhere. So when I got that call from her mother that time, she was like, come up here for a holiday. Come and see your kids, man. Come and be a father. And I remember going up there for 2 weeks, and I remember just exploring these sides of Tauranga, and I've never been there before. And I'm just like, well, I had been there before, but just not in the right mindset. And I remember like actually being there and seeing these sites and just seeing where my kids were and seeing how happy they were and seeing the environment they were. And I was just like, fuck, this place is amazing. And I remember climbing Mount Maunganui for the first time. And I remember going up there and just sitting down and looking at the sights, and it's almost just like, fuck, this is paradise. And I remember my daughter cuddling up to me, and I remember my son cuddling up to me, and I remember him saying, welcome home, Dad. And I was just like, fuck. And I remember coming back, and then I moved back up, and so started my journey in Tauranga.
Oh.
And what year was that? Do you know what year and how old your kids were?
At least 10 years. So I would have been maybe in my early 30s by then, even just after 30. But I'm with my children. I'm there for a reason. So I was in Tauranga. I arrived in Tauranga, and like I said to you earlier on, it didn't stop there. I wasn't a changed man as much as I tried to. It comes another part of lessons. I started chasing women. I found my happiness in other people and other women instead of myself. I was running away from shit. So when I started doing that, I found myself moving out away from my kids. And once again, I started abandoning my kids again because I was chasing other shit. And then I started indulging, trying to be like the man that I was, like trying to do standovers and trying to intimidate people. Have you seen my stature? I'm small, I'm short. And why I bring that up is that because I'm short and I'm a handsome looking fella, that means I'll have to work harder to be more violent and be more intimidating. So I had to use other ways to, because my appearance wasn't intimidating, so I had to use violence to be intimidating. I used to have the art of surprise and being, I can say it, deceiving. And I started doing it again in Tauranga. Oh, bro, do you know where to get anything? Yeah, bro, I've got some. I knew you had some. Let's go for a ride. Yeah, sweet. Jump in the car. Yeah, okay then. Bro, and I'm looking at the city like, bro, he does that. And then, let's go to a park. Yeah, next thing you know, I'm driving away in this car. I got all this shit. So, it didn't stop when I got to Tauranga. I went through unhealthy relationships once again that brought me to suicidal thoughts because I wasn't learning anything. I was putting myself in these environments again. I did find some peace in a relationship at one stage, and I got engaged to a woman, but the shoe was on the other foot this time. She hurt me, and she ended up finding love somewhere else or wanted something somewhere else. So I found myself, I created this home for my children, her children, and I was in a relationship. All of a sudden I found myself at the fucking rock bottom again because I hadn't learned anything. I didn't learn how to regulate my emotions. All I seen was another woman leaving me. How did I start this journey? It was because of that. I tried to unliven myself again, and my daughter and my ex-partner found me. My daughter found me. At that time now, my daughter is still in school. Yeah, for her to see me like that, I'm just like, fuck, man. Okay, I really need to do something. I really need to do something. I need to find help. maybe I should go back to these counsellors that never worked. Maybe I should go and find someone. Something that I've also spoken about too is that I've been referred to the mental ward 3 times throughout this time because of this behaviour of mine. The first time was when I was a teenager and I was going through a violent episode, and I was taken to the mental ward in Palmerston North, and I was put into a padded room, and I was put into a ward with grown men, and I remember begging my mum to take me out. Fuck, man, and that's what I mean, that I blamed her for bringing me there, you know. And the second time was when my wife left. I was going through all that suicidal shit. I was on meth and stuff like that. And once again, I was referred to the mental ward again to help me. In some circumstances, that place might help. Definitely, it might shelter you and keep you safe from your own thoughts and your own actions. I wouldn't say thoughts. But once again, I didn't want to be enclosed in something that I didn't want to be around. So this third time here, I was also referred to. And I was thinking in my head, maybe I should just admit myself. Maybe that's the only place that I can go that will keep me safe, or keep the people around me safe. I remember putting all the stuff on social media about what was happening to me and how you do put your life on social media and stuff like this. And I had all these people worrying about me and heard what was going on. And I remember looking at like hundreds of people just like, bro, we love you, you know, like you've got this, and just encouraging me. And I'm just like, fuck, I've got so much support, but how come I can't fucking see it properly? You know, how come I can't feel it? And the one fella reached out to me. He was a tattoo artist, and I'll tell you the story because this story is the story that led me to pretty much where I am now. And this tattoo artist said, bro, I don't like seeing you like this. I'm going to give you some tāmoko. Usually tāmoko helps. I'm like, yeah, it does help. You know, I've had this before. And he was like, come to this place and we'll give you a tāmoko. Yeah. Turned up to this place. He was late. I was about to walk away. And then another artist turned up. Māori fella, and he said, bro, come in. I'm like, bro, how do you know I'm coming in? He goes, I just know, come in. The Māori fella. He brings me in, and I'm sitting there. He's sitting up. He goes, I put some music on for us, bro. Yeah, bro. He turns around and looks at me, and he goes, how are you, brother? And I'm like, I'm all good. And then he looks back, and he goes, nah, how are you? And he looks me in the eyes just deeply, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I just start crying. And it was the first time that I cried in front of a grown man ever. I told him what was going on with me, and he told me his story and where he was in life and how he got to his point where he is, where he's managing it. I was like, okay, then cool, bro. And then this other fella gets a message on Facebook. I heard it, and he turns around to me and he goes, bro, what are you doing on February the 15th? This was 2020. And I'm like, nah, nothing, bruv. And he goes, bro, I reckon this will suit you. One of my bros, local here, is putting people in to go into this men's group hikoi wellness thing. And I'm like, oh, bro, what's that about? Oh, you go out to the bush, bro, and you learn thing. And I'm like, hey, well, fucking let's go around grown men and cry. And isn't that some like gypsy shit? Or, you know? It's like, nah, bro, yeah, it might do you good. And I was like, oh, okay, then sweet as, all good. So I got in contact with this fella, and this fella gave me just be here and be at this place. By then I was living with another male, my best friend, and he had a similar upbringing, and he just went through the same relationship thing as me. So we were fueling off each other, being sad bastards, listening to sad music, you know, crying to, you know, like fuck it, I could hear him crying. I'm crying in another room. When we get out in the passage and meet, we're like, staunch, bro. That's what I mean. We just couldn't fucking lay our guard down. We didn't know how to. He was brought up in a violent upbringing too. You know, he had abandonment issues. He didn't know how to fucking regulate his emotions. I thought I was violent. He was violent. And so we're in the same household, feeling off each other. Oh, I got this thing coming up. I reckon you should come on. Nah, fuck that, bro. Let's go get on the bus. I'm like, nah, bro, we're going to go. And I brought my son along too. I invited my son. I thought, come and be my support son. By then, I think my son was 15 or 16. Now, how old is he now? No, sorry, he was 16 going on 17. But I didn't think of the consequences too of bringing a young fella to one of these things. You know what I mean? I didn't imagine what it was going to be like. But it was one of the most beautiful and special days of my life. So anyway, we turned up at this meeting point, and it was crack up because there was multiple times we were going to leave. We're like, no, fuck this. We're going to go. What the fuck is this? Because all these people turned up, and there was only like 3 carloads, and we're like, is this actually it? And I jumped down and I talked to this fella. I said, bro, is this what we come for? And he goes, nah, this is just a meeting point. We're going to go out to this fucking bush. And I was like, oh yeah. And then all these cars started turning up, and like, okay, then we started off this hikoi. Anyway, at one stage I turned off and I went to turn around, and my bro was like, what are you up to? And I said, no, fuck this, bro. And he was like, yeah, no, fuck this. And I thought, nah, come on, bro, let's us. We started cracking up. It was like 5:30 in the morning, man. 5 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, we turned up. We started following this convoy again. We got a bit behind. Anyway, we turned up, and it was like dark. We turned up into this bush, and I remember like coming around this corner in the middle of fucking nowhere. And then all of a sudden you see like all these men standing there on this road and in the bush, and you're like, what the fuck? This can't be us. This must be like a walking group or something, you know, like a hiking group. And then we see all these people with the logo on there, Amend. We're like, Amend? Oh no, we're in some fucking like religious shit. And anyway, we jumped out. But these are the things that you think when you get there that can turn you around. Like, it's your mind telling you, nah, I don't want to heal. I know what's coming. Don't go. Please don't go. Please stay in this chaotic in my experience.
You've been in worse positions.
Yeah.
You've been locked in the boot of a car. You've done this. And yet here you are trying to escape a men's group. Hikoi.
Yeah, but this is the thing, man. Like, I mean, how can I say it? Like, I could walk into a pad and I wouldn't even care. I could go into a confrontation and I wouldn't even care. But these situations where people will find easy, and I'd like, oh no, hugging, you know what I mean, being affectionate. Oh fuck no. So anyway, we turned up to this place and we see all this men, and we're like, fuck yeah. So we park up and we jump out, and sure enough, it's the group. We go and get our shirt, and on our shirt is a name, Tavita. And Tavita was our sponsor. He got all us men in there. Anyway, we're standing in this group. We form this circle, and this bulky fucking fella, confident, stands in the middle, and you're like, oh, this is what's going to happen. This is the outlay of the day and stuff like that. So good. And his name was Watini. Anyway, the start of the day was they were in a circle of 70 men. There was a couple of teenagers there, so I felt okay for my son, but I didn't know what was going to come. 70 men who were going through shit. So it started from the far side, and everyone spoke into their journey and what were there and what they were going through. And fuck, you were just like, oh man, all these different stories of sexual abuse, physical abuse, abandonment, relationships breaks up, being in prison, being an addict, or, all these specific fucking things. You're just like, oh fuck man, this is crazy, but I don't want to be here. I don't want to stand here listening to this. And I got to a fella, because I just felt like I didn't resonate with something. And I got to this fella. I do a shout out to the bro, because he's got the meanest content, Kauriki. He stood forward and he was a facilitator, and I almost felt like he looked straight at me and he was like, when I was a child, all I wanted to be was a motherfucking gangster. And he looked at me and I was just like, oh, fuck. This fella's cool. He's talking. I'm resonating with this fella. And then he started speaking into the story, lived experience on the other side of healing himself and on a journey of forgiveness, wellness and everything. No, you got me, bro. You got me. If you didn't speak, I wouldn't be here. I would have walked away. But he got me, because I resonated with him. And from then on out, every introduction, I was fully there, present, listening and feeling. For the first time in a long time, I felt compassion, empathy. I felt encouraged. I felt seen. I felt heard. And I was listening to all these amazing men speak their truth and their stories, and I'm just like, fuck, man. And it got to halfway, and by then I'm just like, wow, fuck, man, this is empowering, but fuck, this is draining, and I'm just like, wow. And then I got to my son, and my son spoke, and I was just like, my boy, you're so much more than what I was at your age. I hope you know that. And in my head, I'm just like, have you even told him that? Do you even know how to tell him that? Have you even showed him, compassion? Have you even showed him love and stuff like that? Or is it just through words, I love you? So, I mean, all these things are coming to my mind. So we went on this journey with a men that day, and there's amazing things that happened in that bush. I experienced breathwork for the first time. I experienced meditation for the first time. I experienced forgiveness for the first time, the understanding of what forgiveness was. I always thought that forgiveness, it was actually the biggest one for me, was the forgiveness activity. But it also gave me a better understanding of, like, I always thought forgiveness was allowing people's actions to be okay. You know, I forgive you. What you done to me is okay. Oh, fuck that, I'm not going to do that. Why would I want to forgive someone to do that? But there's much more to it. I didn't even figure and realize that forgiveness can be applied to yourself. It wasn't until that day that I actually, I can forgive myself. How does that look? You know, this is how it goes, brother. Fuck, I didn't even think about forgiveness being for myself. Like, I didn't even think there was a thing, bro. I thought there was like forgiving other people. No. So that was the biggest tool that I picked up on that day. And I took that away, and I was just like, fuck, I felt so much lighter after the activity, walking through the bush. I was just like, fuck, man, I love this. I'm going to talk about this to other people and stuff like this. You know, we carried on this workshop in this hikoi into the bush. And this is where I learned all my healing modalities for the first time, breath work. But I also learned the extent of other people's pain and understanding that I wasn't alone. And that was the start of my journey. It can be unbelievable for some people, but I really changed myself that day. I literally did. Like, I changed the way that I applied myself to things. I implemented positivity. But I did, even to the content that I was watching on social media and stuff like that. I started surrounding myself with these men that were based in Tauranga. I wanted to be around them. I was like hungry for it. Give me more, show me more. What can I do? How do I apply this? Just give me more. I started hanging around with these boys a lot more. I started attending any workshops or any thing like that had anything to do with healing or the whole aspect of that kind of journey and stuff like that. I started doing breathwork sessions with other people, other groups. I started doing my own research on what breathwork does, meditation does, what daily routines look like, or what you can use, what journaling does for you, to the point where I was invited to actually be a facilitator to one of these groups. I said yes. I felt confident to actually do it. After no matter what I've been through, I was just like, fuck, nah, I'm in a space of time. I'm going to do this shit.
How long was that you, between when you first went to your first one to when they asked you to facilitate?
Okay, then for safety reasons, I can't. Because you're going to ask yourself, hey, you've only been on that journey for X amount of time. You're facilitating.
But for you
halfway through the first session.
But for you to even hold that confidence within yourself to be able to do that. Yeah.
I mean, like, it was a major turnaround. I mean, like, I've talked about it in front of my men's group. Like, ended up creating this men's group, and I will talk about that. And the turnaround, people were like, they'll talk to me afterwards and go, bro, the turnaround from what you used to be like to this now, it's pretty short. Are you not bullshitting us? I'm like, nah, bro, because I implemented everything that I needed to do. Like, I didn't just think, I went to one workshop and I'm done. I'm fucking this healed person. I continued to do the mahi. And there's that whole saying of the mahi never stops. So when I first facilitated my first workshop, because I was vocal all the time with the boys, I was always in these groups expressing gratitude and thanking them. And at that time, I was a social media socialite. So I was like posting up all my workouts and positivity and stuff like that. And I was actually living by it. And I was applying all these things that I've learned, and I was looking for more and stuff like this. So, I grew close to these fellas, and they were like, fuck, we need to continue this work because we've seen the effect of what it's already had on people. So I was just like, bro, let's do it. And I remember my first time as a facilitator, I was just like, fuck, man. But it gave me the better understanding on what it takes to be there and be a facilitator for those kind of workshops and stuff like this. And what I mean by that is just like being in the middle and releasing is, yeah, fucking oath. But when you're on the outside, seeing it firsthand and actually being a part of the, the space that's holding energy and helping these people, you're just like, fuck, this is a different journey, man. And I'm about it. So when I did my first workshop, my first hikoi, we call it hikoi back home in New Zealand. So what that entails is that we go to a local a place in the bush or a place like that in nature. For us Māori, being in nature was everything for us. Connected us. And for me personally, and a lot of Māori men that I have spoken to, and even non-Māori men, is that we have these workshops that are placed in the bush, but also have these workshops that are placed inside. Like rooms and stuff like that. And the ones in the rooms are, they're powerful. They are powerful. But I feel when I'm out in the bush and I'm laying in the bush, surrounded by nature, and I'm letting go of trauma and stuff like this, there's a wider connection and a bigger connection, and you feel it more. And it's, I wouldn't say more enjoyable, but because you don't want to take away the whole aspect of workshops inside and stuff like that. But there's something there for us anyway when you're in the bush.
It's the element of being in nature and the earth that you get from being in the environment of the earth and nature. Yeah.
Oh, it is, bro. I mean, bro, I'd love to take you on a workshop when we go out in the bush sometime. Honestly, because if you've done workshops in the room to the workshops in the bush, these are. So I went on and did a few more workshops. I think in total I've done over close to 12 to 15 in total, hikoi and workshops. So you remember I mentioned my sponsor, Tavita. I get emotional about that because Tavita was the fella that messaged the bro when I was at the tattoo parlour. Tavita attended the workshop. I remember seeing him, and I actually thought he was a facilitator, but he was actually attending. But I had him at this pinnacle of like, fuck, bro, you're up there. You sponsored me. You're up there, bro. You're on your journey. Anyway, I didn't see him again for a little while, and I carried on this journey with Amend and stuff like this. And then we started basing ourselves a lot stronger and a lot more in Tauranga and Waikato. We had areas in Napier, and we're doing all these amazing things and stuff like that. We had this big plan. Anyway, I ran into him at the fish and chip shop. I think it was one day at the shops. And I said, bro, what are you up to, bruv? He was looking at me like, oh, nah, nothing. It's almost like, hey, I know who you are, but what the fuck? I don't know you like that. And I was like, bruv, we're doing this amazing things. Would you like to jump back on? We know you're the man for it. Stuff like this. And he was like, oh, bro, I'll get hold of you. I said, bro, here's the details and stuff like this. Anyway, the reason why he was looking at me like that was because when I first met him, I was a cunt. I was, and those are his words. Bro, when I first met you, you were this fella, bro, he didn't want to be you. What a cunt. Like, those are his words. And I was like, oh, I thought you're looking at me like you didn't know me. He goes, no, I knew who you were. That's just the last time I seen you, you were just this other person. And then all of a sudden, now you're just this happy, like bouncing around, go-lucky person. Like, how did that change, bro? That's why I started talking to you like this. So anyway, Tavita jumped on board with us. And we went through this journey together of facilitating together. More and more of our stories were shared amongst each other and stuff like this. The reason why I get emotional was because without him messaging the bro on that day, I just think like things like that happen for a reason. Without him messaging the bro, I wouldn't have started that journey. Without him sponsoring us, I wouldn't have started that journey. But it gave me this idea, what can I create? Okay, then for us men going into a setting, a forced setting that's white walls and stuff like that, it doesn't work for us. We need a casual setting. Why not a barbershop? So I pitched this idea to Davida and a couple of other boys that were facilitating. This is our in-between, brothers. This is what we can provide for the men in between. Oh, where's the barbershop? I'm like, yeah, good question, bro. And this is where I befriended another man, and who's a real good friend of mine now. He's an amazing man who went through his own journey. He's a New Zealander who originally planted himself here in Aussie, but went through his own journey with his own addictions and stuff like this. I befriended him. He was a barber. He was in a barber shop, and I pitched him this idea, and I thought, fuck, this is how we're going to go, left or right. He was just like, okay, then how's this look? And I was like, this is what's going to happen, bruv. And he goes, is my shit going to be safe? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, Like, are my clippers and that still going to be there? I was, oh, bro, yeah, of course. But he ended up giving me the keys to his business. Like, man is just opened up this business and he's just giving me his keys to this. And I'm just like, fuck, man, the world is saying something right now. This is amazing. So, I mean, things started falling into place. So how does this look? So we come up with this idea, hikoi, what's in between. How about we make a men's group that we can just turn up in kōrero and express. Why not a better place than a barber store where men go and talk to their barbers and they just feel free. And of course we talked about, I'm not sure, Fave or something. There was something going on, another movement that was in New Zealand at the time. So that was basically where I got a similar idea from. So now everything started falling into place. So I had to get facilitators on board. So of course Tavita was one of them. Pinnacle facilitators within these spaces and stuff like that. And they jumped on board. So there was actually 5 of us. We put it out there socially on socials and stuff like this. The bro put it on his pages and that. And on our first night, I think we had like 30 men. And I mean, for a barbershop, we didn't want any more. We didn't know what to expect. We might get 2, 3, might get 4, 8, we might get 20, we might even get 50. But we had 30 men turn up, strangers. And I remember like the opening night, we're just like, holy fuck, this has just got real. Man, this just got real. It was the start of something amazing. It really was. We ended up having these, our group was called That's Us. And the reason why That's Us is That's Us, brothers. Let's talk. That's us. You know, that's a saying that we use. That's us, brothers. Let's go. Let's go, bro. And you're already building that energy by saying it. Like I said, we didn't know how this was going to go, but it amazed everyone in that room because they were like, even when introduce yourself and tell us why you're here and tell us a little bit about yourself, why you attended and what you're looking for and stuff like this. And men dropped in hard. And, you know, even some of them mentioned, I can't believe I'm saying this in front of strangers. And I remember saying to one of the boys, I said, it's amazing how we feel comfortable talking in front of strangers than we do our own loved ones. And I'm like, I can't even think about my own story. Why is that? Okay, then I don't want to talk to my partner because some of the problems are my partner. Okay, then I feel too embarrassed to talk to some of my mates because I don't want them to know about what's happening in my life. I feel too embarrassed to, or I don't have the level of friendship that, like, you know, so where's a safe space that I can go to? That's Us was created. And that safe space was for a lot of these men. On average, we had about 15 to 20 men every week. And this journey of us for That's Us ran for 3 years. And this is what like thank yous. The accolades that come for yous later on for being a service to our people, like he's deserving. Anyone who gives their time and energy and are intentionally there for the right reasons, you deserve the accolades, but honestly. So, I mean, there's a better understanding and there is a lot more outlets for teenagers and stuff like that now. I truly believe that we need more spaces like what I've been talking about and what we started, what I've attended and what is going on out there. I think it just needs to be brought into the mainstream.
I've never attended a men's group. I've never done it.
Well, guess what?
I've never.
September the 3rd or the 13th, brother. I want to get you a ticket. We're going to go. Yeah. If you want.
Yeah, I'm in.
If you want.
I mean, like, because I'm like, when I see you, and you're like, what you've been through, you're a gangster, tough guy, and you've turned that around. And I know when you were talking about when you first went out there and you're like wanting to walk away and men screaming and yelling and that's how I've always felt. I'm like, that's not me. I can't find it hard. But I guess when you're in that situation, everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
It makes it easier for you to do that. Like we were in Bali and we'd done a spiritual healing. And I wanted to experience that. And then part of that was the chakra. And she's trying to encourage us to scream, yell. And I just found it so hard.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. Yeah, I just found it hard.
Yeah, well, on these workshops, like, I don't even mean to frighten you on these ones with my experience, but I mean, a lot of them are like it's there, but it's not. A lot of them I have attended and the screaming does come. But I've also done workshops recently that there hasn't been a hell of a lot. It's been done in different ways, the release. Yeah, but like September the 5th. I've got you, brother. I got you.
I
Brother.
mean, where's it at?
It'll be in Gold Coast.
Yep.
With a men's. So it'll be with a men's. I'll just carry on with this. That's us, and I'll get into this. I don't want to go off course with it because there's a story here. So That's Us went onto. It's still running now, but it's actually run by a different lot of boys, and it's still going. And I encourage them to keep on going.
In Tauranga, it's still.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I was talking about we were on the papers and stuff like this. So we were actually really building momentum with, and even when I left, it was. And it was the beautiful thing of understanding each other. And and other people ended up leaving. Okay, then we're getting low on facilitators. We need to hold the space, so what can we do? So we can look outside, but we thought, no, fuck, why don't we look inside this group? Who's come a long way? Once again, I met another brother through this group. G'day, my name's Paul, and I'm from Martin. And I swear, everyone just looked at me, and I was just cracking up. And I talk to him regularly. He's one of my best mates again. He's one of my best mates since my day one. He's only been in my life for 5 years. But I formed these friendships with these two fellas is that we've done so much amazing things in the last few years together that, brother, I love you, man. Like, you taught me so much about myself, but also what friendship is, acknowledgement is. They support me and shit like this. I ended up working with Tavita at another community organisation that was based around supporting gang members, and that can be confronting because you're on this healing journey, anyway, and then you're put into this organisation on trying to help gang members, and you're in that environment again, and all of a sudden you're like, oh fuck, it was a bit intimidating, but we went through all this process anyway, and we formed this trio, and Paul, when he walked into that room, he was in distress. He had these thoughts going through his mind. He didn't have no self-value or anything like this. And through that group, his life has just changed. He's such a powerful man now. He's running his own men's group in Whakatane. So you can see the same story, we go through this thing, we attend something, we find purpose, we find reasoning, we find all these things, and then all of a sudden, this is where it's at. Well, I'm going to do my own. And this is a story that goes with these workshops and stuff like that. I can name at least a dozen people who have gone off and started their own co-poppers, their own organisations or workshops and stuff like that. It's spread out into community. Yeah, so these two amazing men we do a check-up every week with each other, or we have video calls with each other. When one's down, we support and acknowledge each other. I don't have a friendship like them, and like I said, they've only been in my life for 5 years, and these are the friendships that I made through these movements and these wellness, men's wellness groups and stuff like this. And they're not the only ones. Like, I've got so much friends that I love to this day through it. And I'm still involved with a men's, an on-night support, bunch of men around Australia and New Zealand. There's about 80 of us. Encourage any men or women to find them. Because even though I've gone through all that and I've become a facilitator, I'm still a student.
Can we go back to your timeline as when you moved from New Zealand to Australia and how that happened?
Do you want the honest truth? Can I say the honest truth?
Yes.
Okay, then. I learned a lot of things, but I didn't learn how to keep it in my pants. And the reason why I did that is that I found a woman online, and I ended up having a baby over here. When I broke up with my fiance that time, and I found myself in placement with a men, and I started this journey, I met a woman online. And it just so happens she was going through the same thing. I chased her. I'd never met her in the physical, but I chased her, and we ended up forming this amazing relationship online. Love, connection. We were each other's comfort. It's unbelievable to hear, but we formed this beautiful relationship online and stuff like this, and we ended up becoming something. It was a journey. It took a few years. But once again, and I'm not afraid to talk into this, and I know my partner will respect this part of the journey because it's speaking my truth, is that I promised her a lot of stuff, and I broke her heart because I ended up stepping back into the relationship that broke me. But after a little while, I knew that I had outgrown this relationship, and I was too good of a man to be in it. And I actually let her go. And everyone was surprised, just like, bro, this is the woman that you tried bringing yourself over. Now all of a sudden you're letting her go. I said, bro, because I found myself. I found the love that I needed to find all these years, and I'm too good for this. So what I mentioned that for is that I promised this woman a lot of things, and then I ended up getting back with this other woman, and I was just like, fuck, okay, then there's lessons to learn there. What are you going to do? We kept on talking. I found my way back to her, and I was like, something was meant to be. We met, and the attraction and the love grew even more. And this woman, this amazing woman, once again shaped the way I thought love was. And she flew me over here one day, and I got stuck over here with COVID. I was only supposed to come over for a weekend, but this is what I mean. There's something beautiful in the story. There's something was supposed to happen here. But one of my dreams was to have another child, but I was getting on, like 40s. You know what I mean? The only child that I'm going to have next is a grandson or granddaughter. She fell pregnant. I went back home. Before we knew that she was pregnant, there was talks of me moving over. And but at that stage of my life, I was most probably one of the most successful spaces that I've been in ever, financially, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, work. I felt like I had found my place. I had an amazing home with my children. My children were living with me. So everything was going right. I had so much going for me. Yes, she fell pregnant. All of a sudden I had a choice that I had to make. What was I going to do? And I started having these conversations to one of the bros in our group. And this is what I mean. The work never stops. What are you scared of going over for? I was scared. I used to say it was my children. I didn't want to leave my children. That was a major thing, but I was scared that it was most probably going to be one of the most successful moves that I ever made. That's what I was scared of. Out of fear. I was living in fear that it was going to be the best move that I ever done. What are you scared of? And yeah, come to the conclusion I was scared of that it was going to be the best move that I ever made. So eventually I fucking got off my high horse, handed in my resignation to both jobs. Spent my last couple of days celebrating my son's 21st, and then moved over. Moved over once again, starting another life with only 2 bags of luggage. But it's almost like, if you think about it, I think about it, it's like, man, I had 2 major resets in my life. No, I most probably had 3 or 4, but stepping outside my comfort zone. My kids are set up over home. They got everything they need. And they still live in the same house that we call home. And I've been here 18 months now. It's been hard, mentally, emotionally, it's been hard. But I owe the work that I do daily that helps me get and navigate what I'm going through. Because I mean, if I didn't do this work, I'd be a fucking mess. If I didn't do this work, I actually wouldn't even be here. Yeah, here I am 18 months later. I've got a successful job. I've got a good relationship. I've got an amazing relationship with my youngest daughter. The relationship I had with her, she's got me at the best version that I've been in my life. My daughter and my son didn't even want to come into the car with me because they used to call me a rager. You're a rager, Dad. We don't want to go with you. Get in that fucking car. You know? Even that. Get in that fucking car. Forcing my kids, man. Oh, man, the way I talk to my kids. But that changed, and they've seen that change. I've done it for myself, but I mean, I've also done it for my children, you know, because those are the ones that I influence the most. That's one of the most important reasons why I work on myself mentally and stuff like that.
So you've got good relationship with your kids now back home?
Yeah, I've got a good relationship with my kids back home. I've even got better relationships with my ex-partners.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. and see how happy I am with that. Because they can make my life hell. I mean, one thing that I've always admired about my children's mother, even what I put her through and what she's seen me go through, is that she's always believed in me. Oh, 100% all the time. But I mean, like, she's believed in me to the point where she just gave me a chance to be a father all the time. And if she didn't give me that chance, who knows? You know what I mean? So my relationship with my children is amazing. My oldest children, we have this relationship where we're like best friends.
Speak about working on yourself every day. What does that look like for you?
So what that looks like for me is that I have these daily routines that create habits, healthy habits, create discipline and consistency in my life. And I'll talk about showing up for others and stuff like this. This allows me to show up for myself and also show up for others. So everyone's daily routine is different. So my daily routine starts off with karakia, which is, what can you say it in the English terms, prayer. Or yeah, you can say it like that. So I start off with a karakia. I start off with gratitude. I journal. I'm in a busy lifestyle, so the only time that I really get to myself in a quiet place is actually in my car. You know, because we live in an apartment, so we're in this closed off area, and my daughter's, man, yeah, she's going hard out, and it's just full on. So the only time that I get for myself is in my car. So a lot of this is practiced in my car, and so there's no excuses. Even if you have to lock yourself in the toilet, just practice it somewhere. I encourage everyone. So karakia, acknowledgements. I acknowledge the local people of the land all the time. And that's something culturally that I experienced that helps me too to connect. Something that I was missing when I first moved over here, so I embraced that. I acknowledge the local custodians of the land. I practice gratitude. I set my intention every day, and I hold myself accountable by that. For example, if I set my intention today, I'm going to be patient. You know, and I hold myself accountable to it. Affirmations, powerful affirmations, not just for myself, but for those that I love around me. And that's often a practice that is not incorporated in people's routine that I don't even think about, which is beautiful. I say that about my partner, especially, and about my children and even my work colleagues. You know, the affirmations, man, I love how he is a good father, you know, and I speak this out in the universe. I speak it into existence and stuff like that. And then I also practice an enchantment that I was given to me from attending another cultural workshop, a different level, spiritual level. So I use that, incorporate that. And I also do a 5-minute breath and meditation every morning. And physical side of things, I go to the gym. What's going to the gym? No, that helps you mentally hard out. It's a daily routine, man. If you go to the gym or do some kind of physical activity, you'll be amazed at what it does for you. And I also set free actions. Free actions is something that we easily can speak about, we want to do, but we speak about it, we don't action it. So I action it. Okay, then what do I want to action? I want to action being more affectionate. So I action something with my partner. You know, not only does it help my mental well-being, but it helps my relationship and stuff like that great too. So I mean, there's always these beautiful effects that spread out from this too. And at night and even in the morning, I allow myself 1 to 5 minutes of stillness and peace, where I just shut off. No distractions, because how often do we go and reach our phone? It's almost like we don't like the peace and stillness. It's like we can't watch TV, or we just can't turn off the TV and just sit there. Fuck. So I allow myself 1 to 5 minutes of that. And that allows me, and it's a practice of me being still and just slowing down. Yeah, my practice of slowing down is just like sitting in the car for 5 minutes, no distractions, cutting off anything, just releasing and just sitting in this pause. And fuck, how amazing I feel when I step into work. And even at work, I take time and I find a space and I just And I stop. I give myself 1 minute. Night routines are just as important. People really speak about morning routines and stuff like that, but your night routines, because you're setting yourself up, you're going to go to sleep. Whatever you're implementing before you go to sleep is what you're going to go into your while you sleep and stuff like that. So I really encourage a night routine, journaling, reading. I read. I used to hate reading, but I read because it brings me back to stillness at night, calmness. Boom, yeah, sweet. And I'm ready to sleep. There's a whole lot of things that you can implement. Like I put up a post a while ago into our group and just said, this is my morning routine, this is my daily routine, this is what I do, what are yours? And people have got way different things. So, I mean, if you're on this journey or you're starting this journey, I reckon I always say it's a good place to start, Just get those little things. Can I share something quickly with my experience with that? Is that all right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay then. So I sought out a counsellor to work on my inner childhood. I recommend anyone don't do it, man. And the counsellor I got was a female. So if you just listen to my story, my pain, most of my pain comes from the female abandonment and stuff like this. So I got this female counsellor, and already I'm just like, hey. But she was so powerful. Anyway, she allowed me to work with my inner child and what to do and, what I need to do to comfort and stuff like this. And one of the experiences was, we're in a room. She was like, okay, then working with me and stuff. She was like, go back to one of the first moments we felt alone and abandoned and unsafe. I find that moment, and I remember that moment vividly. As soon as she said it, I was just like, yeah, I know where I'm going. So I kept on going back, and she was like, go back, earnest trust. You need to earnest trust first, So I was going back, and I was like, going back into this memory, and I was standing in the corner of this room, just like, Daniel, hey, saying all these things, and it's just, I wasn't getting anywhere. I felt and stuff like this, and I kept on going. And there was one moment there, and I'd like to share this because this is next level, I feel, if you do understand what I'm saying. So when I was in that moment, when I was a child and I was in this room, I felt alone. And I remember listening to the kids outside, and I remember a man turning up to my house. And I was with my mum, and my mum forced me into this room. Get in the room and you stay in here. Don't you come back. Don't you come out. Mum, I'm hungry. I'm alone. What? Can I come out? Don't you come out of this room. I remember her shutting me in there, and I remember just playing with my toys and feeling alone. But I remember someone being in the corner of that room, and I was scared. This is me as a child. I feel where I'm going to. So I felt someone in the room when I was a child. I felt scared because I felt someone there. So when I went back as an adult to visit little Daniel, and I got somewhere, I remember talking to him, just going, hey brother, I'm here again. You're not alone. And I remember him turning to me in my room, and he looked at me. But I remember doing the same thing when I was a kid. So that presence when I was a kid, as a child, was actually the adult self revisiting me. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You feel that? That was actually me revisiting little Daniel. That moment there was one of the biggest ones that I grew resentment for my mum. And I held on, and I always said to her, that moment there, and my mum went to speak about that moment many a times, boy, and I always shut her down. Oh, fuck, man, that moment when you shut me in there, that man, another moment you chose a man over me. One of the first times you chose a man over me, fuck this, and you always done it, blah, blah, blah. And I shut down the conversation. Well, when I done this work, I allowed that conversation to be had. And I said, Mum, I felt abandoned by you. You shut me in that fucking room. I felt alone. It was only daytime. I was hungry. How can I protect myself, And she goes, do you want to know the truth about what happened? I said, yeah, I do want to know the truth. Fuck, man. He turned up and you shut me in the room. She goes, boy, I was protecting you. He ended up raping me. And I was like, what? And she goes, I shut you in a room because when he come to the door, he said, if I don't do what he wants, he's going to hurt you. I was like, Mum, what the fuck? And she was like, yep, I was raped. When you come into the room and I didn't want to move, I didn't want to go anywhere. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, I remember you telling me you were hungry, but I didn't want to move, boy. I was like, yeah, I thought you didn't want to. And she was like, nah, that's what happened. And I was just like, whoa, fuck, Mum. I'm sorry that I shut you down all those years and you weren't able to speak your truth. But I am thankful that you were able to have the space with me that we could.
I'd like to ask what you would tell your younger self if they were listening to you right now.
I just got goosebumps just then. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm going to cry again. The first thing that come to my mind, really, that come to my heart space was, bro, you're loved. Simple. You are loved, brother. You know, you are loved. Because I know that's the younger Daniel, that's all he wanted to hear. Yeah. I've visited younger Daniel. I've done work, childhood trauma, visiting him. And one of the activities you do is you visit a memory and you need to gain Daniel's trust. And I remember the last time I visited him, and it was most surely one of the most powerful experiences I had with younger Daniel, and that was just simply telling him that I loved him.
What advice would you give to your children that you haven't given yet?
That's a bit of a hard one because, like, man, I tell my kids all the time.
Yeah. Well, even just one that's more common, that's something that you keep saying.
Don't rely on your happiness coming from others as one that comes. And what I mean by that is that, like, for my own experiences and stuff like that, is like, even especially in a relationship, is that, like, I based my happiness so much from my partner that when she was gone, where's my happiness gone? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just your own, you know, just believe in your own empowerment and stuff like this, your own value and your happiness on your own.
Everything is within is what's without. Happiness has to be within you.
Yeah.
For it to be externalized.
It starts with self.
Yeah, it starts within yourself.
I think that's one thing, the one message too, yeah, it starts with self. I mean, I practice forgiveness, but in order to forgive others, I had to forgive myself first. Then I could forgive others. In order to truly love someone, I had to love myself first. You know, you got to be tuku and pono. I mean, you know, be truthful and stuff like that. It's almost like I'm going to tell you something, but I'm not doing it. No, I feel that's not real energy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, so it does start with self-empowerment, self-belief. You know, you can like self. You know.
Well, thank you, Daniel Proctor. It's been awesome for you to open up and share your story with us. It is unique. Everyone's story is unique. And we seem to like compare. Their story is way worse than mine. My story doesn't matter. And we're comparing. And I think with their stories, it's your childhood shaped you to who you are and the learnings for you to reach to that point for change and transformation. Thank you for your time and your story. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Easy way. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Look forward to part 2.